This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate what if Naruto made a pact with a different kind of Kyuubi. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
It was October 10th, 13 years after the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. Additionally, it was Uzumaki Naruto's 13th birthday. The fact that it was Naruto's birthday would normally make him very happy, but not this time. The opposite was true. At the moment, Naruto was making his way to his apartment by strolling slowly through the streets of Konoha. Normally, he would be extremely vulnerable to such an act on his birthday, but since it was only 2 o'clock, the yearly celebration honoring the Yondaime's victory over the Kyuubi had not yet begun. Naruto was safe for the time being because that meant the yearly drunken fox hunts had not yet started, or so he believed. Naruto used to walk around with a big smile on his face, keeping his inner feelings hidden from the outside world. But now his mask of joy was broken. He had puffy red eyes and a big frown as he walked slowly home. He was walking and thought to himself, I guess Sakura-chan, no, just Sakura, will never love me. I don't think I will ever be loved. Sure, Gigi treats me well, but it's not the same as being loved by someone. Haruka-sensei also treats me well, and I think he actually respects me a little, even if I goof off and pull pranks all of the time, but it's not love. Do I even know what love is? I've always been alone, and I'm so lonely. 30 minutes ago, Naruto met with Sakura, which shaped his current mindset and thoughts. Flashback: without jutsu, Naruto had been strolling through the village, thinking of new tricks he could play, when he turned the corner and saw Haruno Sakura, his crush. Hey Sakura-chan, would you like to? He yelled as he ran in her direction. Sakura's fist struck him hard in the head, knocking him to the ground and stopping him in his tracks. For the last time, no. I will never go on a date with you, Yubaka, nobody likes you. You're so weak and pathetic, and you're nothing like Sasuke-kun, screamed Sakura as she stood over the fallen Naruto. But, was Naruto's stuttering response. The banshee screamed, no, and stomped off. With tears in his eyes, Naruto stood up and fled. Neither of them realized that a girl with lavender eyes had witnessed the entire incident. Jutsu Kai flashback. As he moved along, Naruto had been focusing mostly on his thoughts and not much else. When he looked up, he saw that a group of men had gathered around him, about a block from his apartment. Well, what do we have here, boys? If it isn't the demon. I know that we weren't going to start hunting him until the festival, but let's leave him with a little something to tide him over until the main event, a man replied. Before long, Naruto was being lifted into a very powerful grip. He made an effort to struggle, but it was unsuccessful. He was flung to the ground after being carried into a dim alleyway. Behind him was a wall, and the men blocked the only exit from the alley. Fuinjutsu, sound barrier, was said by one of the men, who was clearly a ninja, as he demonstrated hand signals. Now nobody can hear you scream. Let's have some fun, boys, the man grinned. One of the men moved forward and gave Naruto a forceful blow to the jaw. Naruto collapsed to the ground and turned to face the men, who were all moving steadily toward him while brandishing a variety of sharp objects. Pain was the last thing he recalled. The men were gone when Naruto woke up in the same alleyway. He moaned as he pulled himself up, his entire body hurting. His orange jumpsuit was red from dried blood and torn in multiple places. When he noticed that the sun was lowering, he began to walk as quickly as he could back to his apartment. The festival and the fox hunts started at sunset, so he knew he would be in big trouble if he didn't return home soon. When Naruto finally managed to drag himself into his apartment, he fell flat on his bed. His exhausted body passed into unconsciousness. When Naruto woke up, he was in what looked like a sewer. There were numerous pipes that hugged the ceiling, and the ground was covered in red water up to his knees. He started to wander, wondering where he was and whether he was dead. He wandered for about half an hour before coming to a stop in front of a massive gate. Naruto pondered the presence behind the gate, wondering what it might be. The presence suddenly moved to directly behind him, and he felt two soft objects press against his back and a pair of arms encircle his stomach. After he started to panic, Naruto heard a woman say, my poor Naruto-kun. You do not deserve what has happened to you. Naruto turned around after the arms were released. At what he saw, his face flushed red. A 13-year-old girl who was fully nude caught his attention. She had red eyes with a vertical pupil slit and long, straight red hair that reached her lower back. She also possessed a pair of matching fox ears and 9 red fox tails with white tips. For a 13-year-old, her breasts were surprisingly well developed. See cups. W.who and W. What are Y.U? A. and W.Y or Y.UN? Naked, Naruto stammered, turning away from the girl. The young lady chuckled at his response and replied, "Unfortunately, I am the source of all of your troubles, as well as the reason to why almost everybody hates you. I am the reason why you are called a demon. For that, I cannot tell you how sorry I am. As for why I am naked, I prefer it to wearing clothing, as that is what I'm used to." Although Naruto was not nearly as smart as Shikamaru, he was still incredibly intelligent. He was able to mentally connect the dots and formulate a tenable theory. "Are you the Kyuubi?" he inquired. Naruto flinched in terror as soon as the girl nodded, but she later came and gave him a reassuring embrace and said, There. I'm not going to hurt you. Not now, not ever. I care for you too much to ever do that." Naruto was very perplexed and asked, "But why? I thought that you were a being of destruction that lived only to kill things. That's what we were taught in the academy. Also, where are we? I thought that the Yondaime killed you. Does that mean that I'm dead?" The girl laughed and grasped Naruto more tightly as she said, "The academy is dead wrong. While I am extremely powerful, I don't destroy things for the fun of it. The truth of what happened 13 years ago is very different from what everyone is told. The Yondaime did not kill me. That is impossible for a single human to do. You are not dead, Naruto-kun. We are what is called a mindscape. In other words, we are inside of your mind. If we are in my mind, why are you here, Kyuubi?" asked Naruto, who was now even more perplexed. "Please, my name is Kurama. But please call me Kura. Even though I love my father, I still resent that he gave me a masculine name. As for why I am in your mind, I was placed here by your father." "You knew my father? Who was he? What did he do? Was he famous? Why did he place you in me?" Naruto asked, his face instantly brightening at the mention of the word, father. Kura let go of Naruto after giggling at his outburst. She took a moment to reflect. "Yes, I knew your father. I knew your mother even better. Your father was an amazing man. But before I tell you about them, I would like you to change the scenery in here. Living in a sewer is not pleasant." Naruto said, "Okay, how do I do that? Just imagine a new location, and your mind will change. When you are here, you have complete control," replied Kura. The sewer surrounding them vanished as Naruto focused and closed his eyes. A vast, verdant grassland with a sizable, azure lake beside it took its place. Millions of brilliant stars were twinkling in the night sky, and a massive full moon was shining a gentle light over the plains. Kura sat down on the soft grass right away and motioned for Naruto to join her. He did, and Kura responded, "This is quite the beautiful place. Thank you for doing that. I am going to be blunt about who your parents are. Your mother was Uzumaki Kushina, heiress to Uzushiogakure, and your father was Namikaze Minato, the beloved yellow flash of Konoha, and Konoha's Yondaime Hokage." This realization left Naruto in utter shock. He had no words, so he continued, "Your father sealed me inside of you to save Konoha. His dying wish was for you to be treated like a hero, and that is something that Konoha completely ignored. Very few people know that you are Minato's son, as it was kept a secret in an effort to keep you safe. In doing so, I think that more harm has been done than good. My father was the Yondaime. I can't believe it. But why would he place such a burden on me?" replied Naruto. Kura responded, "I was never meant to be a burden, Naruto-kun. Minato sealed me inside of you to save both me and Konoha, and also as a gift to you. Unfortunately, this gift turned into a curse thanks to the civilians. I need to tell you about the truth behind what happened 13 years ago, but I also wish for the Hokage to hear what I have to say. He needs to know. But to do that, I need to be able to manifest outside of your mind. In order to do that, however, I need you to modify our seal. I already have it planned out, so no worries." "Okay, what do I have to do?" Naruto asked, nodding. Kura snapped her fingers, revealing a sheet of sealed paper. She continued, "I need you to modify the seal on my stomach so that it matches what is on this paper. To do that, just channel chakra into your fingertips and draw on my stomach." Kura collapsed on the grass as Naruto nodded. Naruto squatted over her as the seal materialized on her stomach. Using the paper as a template, he laid it over Kura's seal and started using his chakra to trace the new lines onto Kura. Immediately after finishing, he sensed a change in his body. He had no precise explanation. Kura looked at her newly acquired seal and said, "Excellent work, Naruto-kun. That is exactly what I want. As a side bonus to this new seal, you will be able to access my chakra far easier than before, as well as having your senses receive a boost. You will be stronger and faster than before, and your innate Uzumaki trait of minor regeneration will receive a huge boost. Also, there is a small chance that you will receive a Kekai Genkai. Now it is time for you to wake up. I'll see you in the real world." Naruto felt everything turn black after saying that. That was a weird dream, Naruto muttered as he vaguely woke up. He turned around when he heard a giggle and saw Kura standing next to his bed, still nude. So that wasn't a dream then? He asked, his eyes widening as he turned away from the nude girl once more. Nope, that all happened. And why do you continue to avert your eyes? Don't you like seeing me naked? Kura said, laughing once more. Naruto continued to avoid eye contact with Kura as he remarked, it's not that I don't like seeing you naked, it's just that I don't want to be a pervert. Again she giggled and said, you have my permission to see me naked whenever you want, Naruto-kun. I don't mind, and I won't consider you a pervert for it. Kura giggled as Naruto turned back to her and moved his gaze up and down her body. Naruto's door was abruptly knocked on. Naruto told Kura, I'll get it. Hopefully it's not anybody bad. You might want to stay hidden, Kura-chan. As Naruto made his way to the door, Kura turned a corner and grinned and nodded at the loving chan suffix. He cracked it open just enough to get a glimpse. He was surprised to see no one. He pushed the door open all the way and peered around. He noticed a wrapped present with a card attached when he looked down. After picking it up, he went back inside and shut the door. Kura took a seat beside Naruto as he took a seat on the bed. She stated, you should read the card first. That's the proper thing to do. With a nod, Naruto unfolded the card. He started reading aloud. To Naruto-kun, you are not weak or pathetic, and you are the strongest person I know. There are people who care about you, and it is fortunate that you are not like Sasuke, who is the worst boy I have ever met. I saw what happened to you with Sakura, and I just wanted to say that you should not listen to her. As the person who has given you gifts on your birthday for the past 3 years, I hope you enjoy this gift and have a happy birthday. I made the Hokage costume, the frog wallet, and the nightcap. I wish you happiness and safety, and I hope you enjoy this year's gift. With affection, someone who genuinely cares about you. Kura gave Naruto a reassuring hug after he finished reading the letter, and he said, see, Naruto-kun. There are people out there who care and love you. You simply need to go look for them. Let's see what you received this year from your mystery friend. Naruto nodded, wiped his eyes, and opened the present to discover 30 coupons worth an infinite number of bowls at Ichiraku Ramen for a single meal. Your mystery friend is truly a good person to get you these, Kura said, giving Naruto a tight hug as tears began to pour down his face once more. I assume it's a she based on the handwriting, and she must be aware that you have a deep love for ramen. We both know that those coupons are pretty expensive, so it appears that she is also very wealthy. Anyway, let's call it a night since it's getting late. Tomorrow, we will speak with the Hokage. Naruto-kun, don't worry about anyone entering to harm you tonight. I'll see to it that no one can enter. Alright, Kura-chan. Thank you. I believe that my life is starting over today. Naruto said, good night, after removing his bloody jumpsuit. He then lay down in bed and fell asleep right away. Kura approached the door, signed a few words with her hands, and muttered, Fuinjutsu, door seal. Glowing marking appeared on the door for a moment before they vanished. Satisfied, Kura walked over to the bed. She picked up the letter, which had fallen to the floor, and sniffed it. Lavender. The pale-eyed girl in the academy is the only person Naruto-kun is aware of who has a lavender scent. I must arrange for them to meet. She is nice enough to accept me and gets along well with Naruto-kun. However, that is a task for tomorrow at the academy. After having those thoughts, Kura slipped into Naruto's bed and dozed off while cradling him. It was 8 o'clock when Naruto's alarm went off, and he felt remarkably well rested. When he tried to get out of bed, he discovered that Kura had her arms firmly wrapped around him. Naruto gave her a small shake and said, Kura-chan, we have to get up. Kura sat up and said, all right, Naruto-kun, blinking open her eyes and yawning widely, exposing her sharp canines. Would you mind if I quickly showered? No, but my apartment doesn't have any hot water, so you'll have to deal with that, replied Naruto. It's okay, Kura said as she made her way to the shower, I just want to wash off quickly. After getting out of bed, Naruto went into his tiny kitchen, sat on the couch to wait, and put a pot of water on to boil for some instant ramen. He added 2 packets of ramen and sat down to wait again when the water finally boiled. Naruto heard the shower shut off when the ramen was finally done cooking, but he ignored it and proceeded to divide it into 2 bowls before placing them on the table. When Naruto heard Kura's gentle footsteps, he turned to face her and blushed a little because all she had was a towel wrapped around her body, but he said, I made us some ramen. That's about all I have that's new, if that's okay with you. I don't mind, Kura said, scowling. We'll need to get you to eat a healthier diet, even though I love ramen. Without the right nutrients, your body won't grow properly. I am aware that stores will essentially only sell you ramen, but I know how to get around that. You will learn how to use a kitsune henge from me. The kitsune henge physically alters your body, in contrast to the normal henge, which is a minor genjutsu. After the academy, I'll teach it to you. Naruto said, speaking of the academy, what are you going to do while I'm there? As Kura sat down to eat. People won't like a girl with foxtails, in my opinion. Kura laughed and replied, I'm going to still be there with you of course, but I'll turn into a fox and act as your pet. They may try to get you to send me away, but technically the academy allows pets so long as they're well trained. Okay, Naruto said with a smile, that makes me feel better. I feel safer with you around, Kura-chan. They both finished their bowls of ramen at that point, and Naruto placed them in the sink to be washed later. Following that, he told Kura, I'm going to go up and get some clothes. We can head out when I'm ready. You should wear something besides that orange jumpsuit. I know you like orange, but the jumpsuit looks a little tacky. I know you have a few clothes other than your jumpsuits, Kura said as Naruto made his way to his room. After a few minutes, Naruto descended once more. He was dressed in his typical black shoes, black pants, and a dark orange shirt. Kura transformed into a tiny, one-tailed red fox and started to follow him as he started to leave. After Naruto locked the door behind him, the two of them began to walk toward the academy. Naruto observed the numerous hateful glares that were directed at him along the route. The hateful glares they gave Kura, however, caught his attention even more. Those infuriated him. For no apparent reason, the civilians were staring at an innocent fox. Unconsciously, he started to release his intent to kill. Those who sensed it immediately rushed forward. Additionally, Naruto heard whispers such as, look, a fox is following the demon. He really is the Kyuubi. Naruto sped up his pace to the academy, ignoring all of the hate with a detached expression. Naruto went to his classroom as soon as he arrived. He walked in after opening the door. He was disappointed to see that Kura was the target of glares from most of the class. Kura looked around the room, seemingly unconcerned. Disregarding Naruto's cries of, Kura-chan, wait, she located her target and ran away. Kura dashed to the rightmost row and jumped into the lap of the only person seated at the table. The resident in question was Hyuga Hinata. Even though she was shocked to find a fox in her lap, she started massaging Kura behind her ears because she adored adorable animals, particularly foxes. Kura purred softly with pleasure. Hinata didn't notice Naruto approaching her because she was too preoccupied with the adorable furball in her lap. Her attention was captured when he said, Hey, Hinata, right? Sorry if my fox is bothering you. I'll move her if you want. At Naruto's voice, Hinata jerked to attention, but she stayed out of his line of sight. G. Gomen n Naruto.kun. Y your f.foxi.isen, tb. Bothering m.me. S she's cute. Quite circa cute, r. Really? IL. Like h.her, she said, blushing. She seems to like you too, Hinata. Do you mind if I sit next to you so that I can keep an eye on her? Naruto asked, giving Hinata a broad smile. As Hinata thought, Naruto.kun is asking to sit next to me. Don't fen. Tell him that he can. Naruto's question caused her to flush even more. Hinata nodded slightly, not believing what she was saying, and Naruto's smile grew. He replied, Thanks Hinata. You're really nice, you know that? It's not a dream. Naruto.kun is really sitting next to me. Must not faint. Hinata thought as Naruto sat next to her. Naruto.kun is sitting next to me. Please don't let this be a dream. She pinched herself quietly. Iruka yelled, All right. Sit down and shut up, as she and Mizuki entered the classroom at this point. As soon as everyone was seated, he started calling rolls, and the class scrambled to comply. He looked up when he called out Naruto's name and Naruto exclaimed, Here, Iruka. Sensei, because Naruto wasn't seated in his usual position. He wanted to know why he was seated beside Hinata. Perhaps he had finally noticed that she was crushing on him. In front of Hinata, he also saw a pair of fuzzy ears protruding over the desk. Iruka noticed the little fox as she approached the two. Hinata, why is there a fox sitting on your lap? Iruka then questioned Hinata. Hinata kept massaging Kura as she responded, Gomen, Iruka. Sensei, but this here is Kura-chan. She is Naruto-kun's pet. She's taken a liking to me apparently. Her confidence startled her. Mizuki approached at this point and said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to get rid of her. Although Hinata was secretly offended by his statement, she then recalled an academy regulation. She replied, Actually Mizuki. Sensei, You do not have to ask that. According to academy rules, pets are allowed so long as they are well behaved. Iruka replied, she's right. Pets are allowed so long as they are well behaved. Why do you think we allow Akamaru in here? Kura seems to be quite the well-trained fox to me, so she can stay. With a barely concealed frown, Mizuki retreated, and Iruka made her way back to the front of the classroom, thinking, interesting, Hinata didn't stutter even once. She always stutters. I wonder what caused that. Iruka heard Naruto whisper to Hinata, thanks for standing up for Kura-chan, Hinata, as he was moving. In addition, Iruka heard Hinata reply, arigato, and Naruto-kun. Interesting, Hinata's stutter returned when she spoke directly to Naruto, but it disappeared when she defended his pet, and by association, him. I need to test this. Iruka was thinking. Alright, everyone is here, with a new edition of Naruto's pet fox, Kura. Let's get class started, Iruka said as she arrived at the front of the classroom. Iruka observed a few things as he continued to instruct. The first was that Hinata would prod Naruto and nudge him back toward Iruka whenever he began to lose focus on what he was saying. Strangely enough, it worked incredibly well. The second was that every 10 minutes, Kura would alternate between sitting on Hinata's lap and Naruto's. The third was that, like she did to him, Naruto was starting to sneak occasional glances at Hinata. Hinata was finally successful in getting Naruto to take notes. He noticed that he was really using the paper and pencil she had lent him. When lunchtime finally arrived, Iruka dismissed the class. The students had an hour-long lunch break during which they were free to go wherever they pleased before returning to the courtyard for taijutsu lessons. Using that, Iruka made the decision to test a theory he had been developing in his brain. He heard Naruto say, hey Hinata, would you like to come get lunch with me at Ichiraku's? I've got some infinite bowl coupons and you've been really helping me out today, as the students filed out of the classroom. To her credit, Hinata did not faint, but Iruka witnessed her blush return with a vengeance. After she nodded slightly, Naruto snatched her hand and hurried out of the classroom, pulling Hinata and Kura in close pursuit. After laughing at his students' antics, Iruka returned to grading papers. Ramen Ichiraku. In record time, Naruto pulled Hinata to Ichiraku's, where he leapt onto a seat. He was seated next to Hinata, who was less enthusiastic. Kura also leapt onto the countertop. Hey, Gigi. You've got customers, exclaimed Naruto. Ah, Naruto. Come for some ramen. Who's the pretty lady sitting next to you? And what's with the fox? Tucci and Ayame said as they came out of the back of the stand. That's right, Gigi. This here is Hinata. She's been really helping me out today, so I thought I would treat her to some delicious ramen. And this fox is my pet, Kura-chan. Say hello, Kura-chan. Ayame and Hinata both giggled as Kura yipped out a hello. With a grin, Tucci asked, what can I get you two today? With a smile, Naruto withdrew Gamma-chan. He took out 2 coupons after opening it and gave them to Tucci. Where did you get those coupons, Naruto? Tucci asked, his eyes widening at the sight of the coupons. Naruto laughed and said, they were a birthday present from a mystery friend. I just hope that I can meet them soon. I really want to thank them for the gifts. When the name of the unidentified friend was mentioned, Tucci saw Hinata flush, and he knew that Hinata was the one who had given him the presents. He gave Hinata a subtle wink as he said, well, that friend is quite the person. I'm sure that you'll meet them soon. Who knows? Maybe it's somebody that you've already met. Hinata eeped in surprise at being discovered. Tucci said, anyway, what can I get for you two? Both Hinata and Naruto placed their food orders, but over time, they ordered an increasing amount of food. Naruto and Hinata chatted about various topics while they were eating. In fact, as time passed, Hinata became more at ease conversing with Naruto. The confidence that she was quickly gaining around her crush surprised her. Naruto managed to persuade Tucci that ramen was Kura's favorite food, and as a result, Naruto consumed 20 bowls of ramen while Kura consumed 5. The fact that Hinata consumed a full 25 bowls of ramen, however, startled everyone present. Naturally, Naruto was overjoyed that Hinata had defeated him, and he assured her that he would take her again in order to reclaim his title as the ramen-eating champion. They had 5 minutes left in their lunch break when Naruto looked at the time after they had finished eating. After saying goodbye to Tucci and Ayame, Naruto and Hinata began to return to the academy. After arriving, they went outside to the courtyard where their taijutsu classes were held. Iruka and Mizuki were already there, as were a couple of other students. When Naruto and Hinata arrived, Iruka saw a change in them right away. He saw that Hinata was smiling and standing more confidently, and that Naruto was controlling his urge to jump around like a crazy person. He also saw that Naruto was grinning broadly. He was thinking, just after 1 hour together eating lunch, those two are like completely different people. They really do fit well together. But now it's time to test my theory about Hinata's confidence. When the rest of the students arrived at the courtyard, Iruka made a statement. Alright. Today's taijutsu lesson will be a bit different. Instead of 1-on-1 spars, we will have 2-on-2s. I will decide who you are paired with, so don't complain about who you get. The first match will be Naruto and Hinata versus Sakura and Sasuke. Will the contestants please step into the circle? Is it okay if Kura-chan fights with us like Akamaru does with Kiba? Naruto asked Iruka as the four in question entered the circle. Sakura laughed at Naruto's request and replied, what could a pathetic fox possibly do to help you, Yubaka? You two don't stand a chance against Sasuke-kun. You are weak and pathetic, and Hinata is just as weak, if not weaker. Naruto-kun is not weak or pathetic, and Hinata isn't weak, were yelled simultaneously by Hinata and Naruto. Iruka cleared his throat and remarked, I wouldn't underestimate your classmates, Sakura, they may surprise you. And Naruto, you may have Kura-chan join you if you think that she will be able to help. Iruka grinned at the two children's outburst and thought, interesting, Hinata will fearlessly defend Naruto, while Naruto will do the same with Hinata. Kura snarled at Sasuke and Sakura as she hurried to join Naruto and Hinata. Iruka made the announcement, alright, the rules are the same as the standard matches, you win if either your opponents are incapacitated or knocked out of the ring. Hajime. Sakura charged at Hinata, her fist cocked back, and Hinata activated her Byakugan. Avoiding Sakura's blow, Hinata tapped her arm until it went limp. She then pushed Sakura toward Naruto, who knocked her unconscious with a powerful blow to the jaw. Sasuke simply retorted, pathetic. To be taken out by two weaklings like that. No matter, I'm more than a match for you two, as the two turned on him. Because he believed Hinata to be the weaker of the two targets, Sasuke rushed her and attempted to strike her. But Hinata appeared to move with incredible grace and dexterity around all of his blows. The fact that he was unable to strike the girl infuriated Sasuke, and it wasn't until she bit his leg that he realized Kura had slipped up behind him. Sasuke gave a painful yelp and briefly halted his attack. Naruto and Hinata only needed that moment. They appeared to be one as they danced around Sasuke, Naruto slamming him with his powerful punches and Hinata hitting Jayuken with precision. In causing harm to Sasuke, they collaborated so effectively that an uninformed onlooker might assume that the two had been working together since birth. Before you knew it, Sasuke was on the ground, battered, bruised, and unconscious. The display they had just seen left the entire class in disbelief. They just witnessed the dead last and the girl who was afraid of her own shadow severely beating the academy's top two students. You were absolutely amazing, Hinata-chan. Naruto turned to Hinata as they stood panting from exertion. When Naruto called her Chan and complimented her, Hinata's face turned red. She had been unable to look into Naruto's cerulean eyes all day, but she forced herself to do so. She was shocked to see how Naruto's eyes change. The right half of his eye turned lavender, like her own, and his pupil lengthened into a slit. It remained cerulean blue on the other side. Hinata was unaware that Naruto was also observing the changes in Hinata's eyes. The left half of her eyes became cerulean blue, and her lavender eyes developed a slit pupil. At the same moment, Naruto and Hinata exclaimed, "Your eyes!" Then they fell unconscious on top of one another. When Hinata finally woke up, she was lying on top of someone. She let out a startled eep as she looked down. Naruto was lying on top of her. They were both nude as well. Hinata leapt to her feet and timidly covered herself as Naruto started to shift beneath her. She noticed that they appeared to be in a grassy field that was illuminated by the moon. Even though she had no idea how they got there or why they were both nude, she could see how lovely it was. After sitting up and massaging his eyes, Naruto opened them to find Hinata standing in front of him, her arms covering her bare breasts and her face flushed. He turned his head away at once and remarked, "Gomen, Hinata-chan. I didn't realize that you were naked." Hinata began to stammer, "I.itso. Okay and Naruto.kun. Why you're naked T.2. Naruto yelled in surprise as he looked down. He became very red and covered himself. Naruto and Hinata then turned to face the source of the sound after hearing a string of loud giggles. Kura, who was also nude, was the source. "Not cool, Kura-chan. Please give us our clothes back," Naruto replied. Hinata said, Wait, K Kura-chan? A.asi.int.the.f.fox? Despite keeping his eyes somewhat away from Hinata, Naruto sighed and turned back to her, saying, I guess I have some explaining to do. This is Kura's real form. She is not actually my pet. Hinata said, W. What I.iss.she? A dot and W. Where A.rw? We. He turned back to Kura and said, do you know why Hinata-chan is here? And why am I here for that matter? And why are we naked? Naruto sighed once more and stated, I'll be blunt. Kura-chan is the Kyuubi. And we are in my mindscape, although I don't know how you are here. Hinata observed that Naruto would look directly at Kura when he spoke to her, but he would turn away when he spoke to her. Before Kura could reply, she summoned the bravery to ask, N. Naruto.kun, why do you look at Kura but not at me when you talk to me? She thought to herself, he probably thinks that my body is ugly. Naruto returned his gaze to Hinata, nevertheless avoiding gaze as he said, I just don't want you to think that I'm a pervert, Hinata-chan. I've already seen Kura-chan naked before, and she gave me permission to look at her body and that she won't judge me as a pervert if I do. You're just as pretty as Kura-chan, Hinata-chan, don't get me wrong, but I won't look at you while you are naked until you give me permission like Kura-chan did. Naruto.kun thinks that I'm pretty, he's also such a gentleman. Maybe if I give him permission to look at me, he'll notice me more, Hinata exclaimed, pulling her arms away from her breasts, and Naruto.kun, IMF. Fine W. With Y.ul. Looking a.atm.myb. Body I. If Y.ut. Think T. That I.it, sp. Pretty, it was an internal celebration. Really, thanks Hinata-chan, both you and Kura-chan are the prettiest girls that I have ever met, said Naruto. Naruto's compliment caused both girls to flush bright red, and Kura approached Hinata and started pulling her away from Naruto. As she pulled Hinata away, she said to Naruto, Hinata-chan and I are going to have a little girl talk for a moment. We'll talk about why we are here afterwards. With Hinata and Kura, when Kura had taken Hinata far enough from Naruto, told her, okay, we need to work on your confidence. I know that you're a naturally shy girl, but given what's happening to both you and Naruto.kun right now, I bet that you are going to be living with us by the end of the week. I can't have you turning red and stuttering every time you see our Naruto.kun. Hinata stammered, O.R? She sighed and replied, yes, R. He is both of ours. I know that you love him just as much as I do, and I'm willing to share him with you. I know that you are his mystery friend that has been giving him those gifts. Hinata began to weep. How did you find out? And why do you love him? If you really are the Kyuubi, doesn't that mean that you are a demon? Kura sighed and said, let me tell you a little about myself. I was sealed by the Yondaime, who also happens to be Naruto-kun's father, into Naruto.kun as both a gift and a way to save Konoha. Whenever I am sealed into somebody new, my physical body resets its age to match that of my new container. So I've been growing at the same rate as Naruto.kun, even though I still have the knowledge of my whole life. That's the reason why I'm 13. Now as for your questions, I found out by sending the letter you left with your gift yesterday. You are the only person that we have ever met that smells of lavender. As for why I love him, that's complicated as love is complicated. In a way, it's similar to why you love him. I truly admire his never give up attitude, and I admire his strength to stand tall against all of the hatred that was wrongfully placed onto him. My feelings have grown over the years, as I see what he sees, and hear what he hears. I am the one who has saved his life over the years despite all of the efforts to kill him by accelerating his regenerative abilities with a little of my chakra, as well as making him immune to all of the poisons that have been used on him. Yes, I am the Kyuubi, and yes, I am a demon. But I still love Naruto.kun with all my heart, just as you do. With all of the information that had been provided to her, Hinata's mind was buzzing with ideas. She suddenly broke down in tears and said, I don't deserve to be with Naruto.kun. You've done so much for him, and all I've done is be shy and fear his rejection. Suddenly, Kura slapped Hinata in the face. Don't you ever take that sort of attitude again, young lady. You deserve Naruto far more than you realize. You are the reason why Naruto hasn't given in to despair. You are the only person in Naruto-kun's life to ever make him cry tears of pure joy. And you are the one who has made Naruto-kun's new bloodline awaken. A bloodline that has also awakened within you. A bloodline that, from what I can tell, only awakens when two people who are perfectly compatible with each other look each other in the eyes. A bloodline that will change and is changing both of your lives for the better. Kura's outburst completely shocked Hinata. She asked, I really did all of those things for Naruto.kun? After wiping away her tears. Kura nodded and said, yes, Hinata-chan, on Naruto. Kun's 9th birthday, he was the saddest that he has ever been in his life. He was truly beginning to despair. I could tell that he was contemplating suicide that day in his apartment, when suddenly, somebody knocked on the door. He answered it to find no one there, but a small gift was on the ground. He opened the gift to find Chan, his precious wallet that he still uses to this day. That single act of kindness on his birthday allowed him to continue standing strong and continue moving forwards. That was the first of 4 times that Naruto.kun cried tears of joy. The other 3 were on his next 3 birthdays, after receiving each of your gifts. And yes, it was you who caused a bloodline to awaken in both of you. I am the reason for the bloodline's existence, as when Naruto.kun modified our seal, it created the bloodline, but it was you specifically who caused it to awaken when you looked into each other's eyes for the first time. So tell me, Chan, do you deserve to be with Naruto.kun? When Hinata realized how much she had influenced Naruto's life, she was taken aback. She continued, if I really did all of those things for Naruto.kun, I guess I do deserve to be with Naruto.kun. Thank you, Chan. You've made me see some sense. I will try to not be shy around Naruto.kun anymore. But what if Naruto.kun doesn't accept me? What if he doesn't like me? What if he thinks I'm ugly? What if? Another slap to the face, but this one was lighter, silenced Hinata. Kura then said, I see, your shyness is coming from a deep-seated fear of rejection. If I had to guess, it was created when your clan started treating you like an outcast. Hinata flinched at the mention of her clan, and Kura continued, yes, I know about your troubles in your clan. There is little that I don't know when it comes to rumors in Konoha. The rumor that you were treated poorly is not a common one, but it is sadly true. I hear everything that Naruto.kun hears, and he hears quite a lot. He doesn't usually pay any attention to the rumors, but rumors usually have a snippet of truth in them, so I pay attention to them. Anyways, you do not need to fear rejection from Naruto.kun. I can tell that he is rapidly falling in love with you, even though he has only truly known you for less than a day. Naruto.kun is the most accepting and caring person that I have ever met, aside from you, Hinata-chan. He likes you a lot, that much is guaranteed, and did you forget that he said that both you and me were the prettiest girls that he has ever met? Now we are going to go back over to Naruto.kun right now, and you are going to tell him that you love him and that you are his mystery friend that has given him gifts the last 4 years, okay? After Hinata simply nodded, the two started to return to Naruto. Upon returning to Naruto, Kura informed him, Naruto.kun, Hinata-chan has something important to tell you. Naruto, intrigued, said, okay, shoot. When Hinata's face flushed bright red, she summoned all her courage and exclaimed, N. Naruto.kun, I am the mystery friend who has given you gifts these last 4 years, and I love you. This new insight caused Naruto's eyes to widen, and he took an instinctive action. He ran forward and gave Hinata a direct kiss on the lips. It was Hinata's turn to enlarge her eyes. Nevertheless, she soon recovered from the shock, closed her eyes, and gave a passionate kiss in return. Naruto's eyes were filled with tears as they finally parted ways, gasping for air but still holding each other close. He told Hinata, I don't know what to say, Hinata-chan. You don't know how happy those gifts made me when I got them. They showed me that there was somebody who actually truly cared for me. All I have to say, is that will you give me the honor of being your boyfriend, Hinata-chan? Before giving Naruto another passionate kiss, Hinata's eyes widened again and she looked him in the eyes, causing both of their eyes to transform into the Kyoshingen. I'm just using its name for convenience even though they haven't given it an official name yet. Can I take that as a yes? Asked Naruto as they separated. With a laugh, Hinata replied, yes, but on one condition. With an eyebrow lift, Naruto remarked, oh, and what would that be? With another chuckle, Hinata uttered, that I be your girlfriend and that you will also accept Kura-chan as your secondary girlfriend. Naruto's eyes widened at this, and he separated from Hinata, saying, you're willing to share me with Kura-chan? I'm not complaining, but most girls wouldn't want another girl encroaching on their relationship with a man. Hinata laughed as she said, you're such a gentleman, Naruto.kun, but Kura-chan deserves to be with you just as much as I do. So I don't mind sharing. She has a confession to make, don't you, Kura-chan? I was the one who saved your life from all of those attempts to kill you, as well as the one who made you immune to poisons, and well, I love you, Naruto said, turning to Kura, who was flushed red. Once again, Naruto's eyes widened, and he hurried to kiss Kura on the lips, evoking the same reaction in Kura that Hinata had just experienced when Naruto kissed her. Naruto gave Kura a direct look as they parted ways and said, "Thank you, Kura-chan." All of a sudden, they both started to change. When Naruto looked Hinata in the eyes, the Kyoshingan was still active in his eyes, and the slit pupil split into a Y shape, dividing his eye into 3 equal parts. His eyes were cerulean blue in the bottom third, lavender in the bottom third, and crimson red in the top third. Kura's slit pupil was still present, but the right half of her eye had turned cerulean blue, while the left half remained crimson red. "That is very interesting. It seems that I am compatible with you as well, Naruto-kun," Kura said, as they both gasped at each other's new eyes. "Thank you for the gift that you have just given me." "What just happened? Your eyes changed just like Hinata-chan's did when we made eye contact in the real world," asked Naruto, perplexed by what was happening. "You caused your bloodline to awaken within me, that's what happened, Naruto-kun," Kura replied. "And your own eyes changed as well, you know. Now before I explain further, there is something that I wish to test. Hinata-chan, will you come over here for a moment?" Kura looked directly into Hinata's eyes as she approached her. All of a sudden, they both started to change once more. Hinata's slit pupil split into a Y shape, and her eyes still had the Kyoshingan active from when she had met Naruto's gaze. Her eye was lavender in the bottom left third, cerulean in the top third, and now crimson in the bottom right third. Kura's eye changed in the same way as Hinata's. The top third became lavender, the bottom right third cerulean blue, and the bottom left half remained crimson red. Kura said, "That's very interesting." She abruptly planted a big kiss square on Hinata's lips and said, "It seems that I am compatible with you also, Hinata-chan." Hinata's eyes widened at the unexpected kiss, but for some reason, she thought it was fine. It was as effortless as when she gave Naruto a kiss. She started kissing him back passionately. "Damn, that was really hot," exclaimed Naruto as they parted ways. After Naruto's outburst caused both girls to giggle, Kura said, "I hope you don't mind if I am Hinata-chan's girlfriend as well, because I really enjoyed that." "I don't mind at all, so long as you girls don't mind if I watch when you do things like that," Naruto replied. "Anyways, do you think you could explain exactly what is going on, Kura-chan? You seem to have a good idea." Kura gestured for everyone to sit after giving a nod. When everyone was seated, she started, "As far as I can tell, the reason that both of you are here is that both of you awakened a bloodline that was created when you modified my seal, Naruto-kun. My body is actually still in the real world and has been keeping an eye on you too while we've been down here. So far, 2 days have passed since you fell unconscious. Time works differently in the mind, and while I can usually control how much time passes in here versus outside, your new bloodline is messing with my control." Hinata questioned, "What has happened to our bodies, Kura-chan?" "Fortunately, your teacher, Iruka, has a soft spot for Naruto-kun, unlike most people. The moment you two fell unconscious, he carried both of you directly to Naruto-kun's personal hospital room. I never would have guessed that a chunin like him would know how to use the cage bunshin, but I'm really glad that he does, since it allowed him to carry both of you himself. Anyways, your bodies have been lying in the hospital, in the same bed, heavily guarded by a squad of Anbu. There is no way anybody is going to be able to hurt you two while you are both unconscious." Naruto inquired, "What's the cage bunshin?" The cage bunshin is a Jonin-level technique that is also a kinjutsu, due to the massive amount of chakra that it uses. It creates solid clones that have an equal distribution of the user's chakra, hence why it is so chakra draining. "I will teach you both how to use it before we leave here, as it will be a huge help to both of you," replied Kura. "But my chakra reserve is rather small. How will I be able to use such a chakra-draining technique effectively?" replied Hinata. "That brings me back to your bloodline, and why both of you are unconscious. From what I can tell, or should I say our bloodline has a very unique ability. The reason why both of you are unconscious is that both of your bodies are in the process of resonating with each other in a way that I would have never dreamed to be possible. The changes that you two are undergoing required that you both be unconscious or they wouldn't be able to safely take place," explained Kura. "And what exactly do you mean that our bodies are resonating with each other, and what changes?" replied Naruto. "Your chakra networks are reaching out to each other and are doing something that I can't quite fully explain. Both of your hearts are even beating at the same time, with the same pulse. As for the changes that are happening, both of you are gaining a lot of good things from each other. From what I can tell, both Naruto-kun and I are gaining Hinata-chan's natural affinity for the water element, as well as her body's natural flexibility. We are also gaining the chakra control that Hinata Chan has worked so hard to achieve. But the biggest thing that we are gaining from Hinata. Chan is her Byakugan. Is such a thing even possible? Exclaimed Hinata. Kura was beaming and replied, let's find out. We should have it by now, so show us the hand signs for it, Hinata. Chan. Both Naruto and Kura executed the hand signals that Hinata demonstrated to them, channeling chakra to their eyes. Their eyes changed again, but neither of them became the typical Byakugan. They switched to the Kyoshingan instead, but the lavender part of their eyes started to seep into the other thirds until they were entirely lavender, still having the Y pupil. Naruto was speechless. So this is what you see whenever you use the Byakugan. This is so cool. I can see the chakra in both of your bodies, but is Hinata Chan's chakra supposed to have red in it? No, Naruto-kun. My chakra is completely blue. As far as I know, you are the only one to ever have red chakra. Hinata replied. Kura giggled and said, well, it looks like you've started resonating with me, Hinata Chan. The red chakra is my own personal chakra. It's called yokai and it's very potent stuff. Now let me continue my explanation of the changes that you are undergoing. From me, both of you are gaining my fire affinity, as well as the ability to use my yokai. Naruto-kun already had this ability, but I suspect that it will be easier for him to do now. Both of your chakra reserves will also increase even further. Previously, Naruto-kun had a high Jonin level chakra reserve, and he shared that with you, Hinata Chan, when he first resonated with you. Now both of you will have chakra reserves that surpass the cages, while still maintaining the amazing control that Hinata Chan achieved. You both now have enormous potential when it comes to ninjutsu thanks to those two things. Also, both of your senses will be on par with mine, and you both will gain the ability to turn into a fox like I do. Finally, you will receive my ability to use my special sub-element, Foxfire. Now as for what Hinata Chan and I are gaining from Naruto-kun, we are gaining his affinity for wind, as well as his enormous stamina. We are also gaining his Uzumaki traits of longevity and minor regeneration. However, the regeneration will be influenced by my yokai, and it will no longer just be minor. We will be able to heal from wounds in a manner similar to having an advanced medic nin use the mystical palm technique on us. I also think that all three of us are now emotionally linked, and we may be able to develop a mind link that would allow us to speak with each other through our thoughts. That about sums up what we are gaining from each other. This is simply incredible, said Hinata. This bloodline is really something else. Do you know if we will be able to do this with anybody, or are we only able to share between ourselves? She paused for a moment and then said, I have a hunch that we will be able to share with others, but not at the level that we have shared with each other. I think that we were able to share at this level since all three of us were perfectly compatible with each other. So if we share with others, it will only be temporary. Anyways, we need to come up with a name for our bloodline. Hinata said, how about the Kyoshingan? You've mentioned the fact that our bodies resonated with each other a few times. The Resonator I think that is a great name, Hinata Chan, replied Naruto. The Kura said, very well. Our new dojutsu will be called the Kyoshingan from here on out. Anyways, I think that your bodies have finished adjusting to all the changes now, so I think that I can wake you two up now. A total of 3 days have passed in the real world while you have been unconscious. Once you two wake up, I want both of you to go straight to the Hokage and request a private meeting with him, so that we can talk about both the Kyoshingan and the truth behind what happened 13 years ago. First I will teach you two the Kage Bunshin like I said I would. Kura started teaching Naruto and Hinata the Kage Bunshin, which they both learned very fast. Kura said, okay, now it's time for you two to wake up, after she was satisfied with their degree of proficiency. After saying that, Naruto and Hinata experienced a blackout. When Naruto and Hinata woke up, they discovered that they were lying in the same bed in a hospital room. They both sat up at the same moment and gave each other passionate kisses right away. They were cut short, though, by a loud cough. Hinata and Naruto looked in the direction of the sound. One Hyuga Hiyashi was the source. With a level voice and no emotion at all, Hiyashi asked, may I ask exactly what you think that you were doing, Hinata? His face was as expressionless as his tone. I was kissing my boyfriend, Otto.san. I didn't know that there was anything wrong with doing so. Or is that also a crime in the Hyuga clan? Hinata said, giving Naruto a tight hug while glaring at Hiyashi. Hiyashi said, no, kissing one's boyfriend is not a crime, but I don't recall you asking for my permission to date somebody. Hiyashi raised an eyebrow at this point, thinking, Hinata is standing up to me. She has never done so before. Interesting. Hinata boldly questioned, since when did I need your permission to date the person I love? This raised his second eyebrow, and he thought, that's twice now. Very interesting. I need to test this. He continued, according to ancient Hyuga tradition, the potential boyfriend and girlfriend must ask the clan member's father for permission to date. Something that you haven't done. So tell me why I should allow you to date this person. I know who he is, Uzumaki Naruto, and I am also aware of his reputation, which I have to say is not a good one. Since you seem to have already initiated something, I will give you both one chance. What is your answer? At this point, Hinata started to shake with anger and said, you want my answer, Otto.san? I'll give you my answer. I should be allowed to date my Naruto.kun because I love him. Screw the clan tradition, I'll date whoever I want to, even if you don't give me your permission, Otto.san. You cannot stop me from loving Naruto.kun. Though he did a good job of hiding it, Hiyashi was completely taken aback by what Hinata said. He continued, very well. You two may date. I have a few reasons for allowing this. One is that you stood up to me not once, but 3 times, Hinata. You have never even attempted to do so in the past, and have shown remarkable growth in your character by doing so. Don't do it again. Second is that I knew Naruto's parents very well, and not giving him a chance would be an insult to their memories. Finally, I can see that Naruto is the cause of you having the courage to stand up to me, and I know that his reputation is falsely deserved, except for the pranking bits. However, while you two may have my approval, you will definitely not have the elders' approval. They will try and split you two apart via any means possible once they find that you two are dating. I will try to hold them back, but I just want to warn you too. Then, in her fox form, Kura emerged from the shadows and leapt onto Hinata's lap. Hinata started to rub her and said, well, Otto.san, we'll just have to show the elders up, won't we? In my opinion, the clan is becoming stagnant, and the caged bird seal is destroying us from the inside. As long as the elders hold power, the clan will never be able to move forwards, like Ka.san wanted us to. If the elders try and go too far, then I can guarantee that we will turn it on their heads. The Hyuga need to change. Hiyashi's daughter completely astonished him. It was the first time she had spoken against the clan. Had this been her way of thinking? He said, Hinata, what happened to you? You're like a completely different person. Hinata laughed as she said, I just have the courage to stand my ground and voice my opinions now. Nothing happened to me except that I gained Naruto-kun's approval. I have always thought this way, but I was too scared of being beat that I would hold my opinions to myself. Now, Naruto.kun has given me a gift and I intend to use it to its full potential, and I'm not scared anymore. So this boy completely changed her entire outlook by getting rid of the fears that she held so closely to her heart, just by giving her his approval, said Hiyashi. What kind of gift has Naruto given you? Hiyashi continued, I have never seen anything like this before. These two are meant to be together. The elders will be a problem though. But Hinata is right, if they try and take things too far, we will turn it on their heads. After all, they don't know about Naruto's heritage. With a smile on her face, Hinata turned to face Naruto, and both of them turned back to face Hiyashi, displaying the Kyoshingen. Hiyashi actually gasped and lost his Hyuga composure, asking, what is that? That is the gift that I gave Hinata. Chan, Naruto finally said. If you join us in meeting the Hokage, we will explain the details. I want you to be aware of all the things we have to tell him. You will undoubtedly be curious to hear what we have to say if you were acquainted with my father as you claim to be. Hiyashi thought, the way that he worded it, could he possibly know the truth? And followed Naruto and Hinata as they left the room, Kura trailing behind them. I have to discover what they are concealing. Hand in hand, Naruto and Hinata walked the streets of Konoha, both of them wearing the henge to conceal their new eyes because they didn't want anyone to know yet. Despite this, they received a lot of glares, most of which turned into complete bewilderment when they saw Hiyashi closely following the couple, unable to understand why Hiyashi was actually allowing his daughter to hold hands with the demon brat, and assuming that he would kill the boy the second he saw him holding Hinata's hand. The vile glares were completely ignored by Naruto and Hinata, and Kura ran joyfully around them as they walked in silence and quickly made their way to the Hokage Tower. They went upstairs when they got there, and Hinata questioned the secretary, is the Hokage available for a conversation? You aren't allowed to see him, but Hyuga Sama may if she wishes, the secretary said, giving Naruto a fierce look. And why can Naruto not see the Hokage while my daughter can? Hiyashi said, glaring at the secretary as he ascended the stairs. The reason is that she is a Circa Clan H. heiress, the secretary stammered. Hiyashi thought, bullshit, and responded, all right, I'm going to designate Naruto as Hinata's temporary bodyguard. To protect my daughter from unidentified dangers, he is to accompany us when we meet the Hokage. Come on, you two. The secretary was rendered speechless in shock as Hiyashi strode into the Hokage's office, followed closely by Naruto, Hinata, and Kura. Hiyashi, this is quite the surprise, Hiruzen said, looking up from his paperwork after everyone had entered and the room's automated security seals had gone into effect. As well as Hinata and young Naruto. That you two are no longer in the hospital makes me happy. Why have you come see me? Actually, it was Naruto and Hinata who wished to see you, Hokage. Sama, replied Hiyashi. Oh, what can I do for you two? Hiruzen asked, turning to face the children. You can remain motionless and listen as we discover the truth about what transpired on my birthday, Naruto said with a smile. Now, Kura. Chan, be yourself. Fortunately, Kura was wearing a beautiful purple kimono with a light blue flame pattern on it, which was slightly open in the front to reveal some of her cleavage. Kura's fox body started to change, and when she was finished, she stood up, her 9 tails swishing behind her. Knowing that Kura was the Kyuubi, Hiruzen and Hiyashi were on guard right away and were about to attack when Naruto yelled, "Hold on a moment. Kura. Chan will not harm anyone. We are only here to hear a story, as I previously stated, and Kura. Chan is the only one who is fully aware of it." Although they had somewhat calmed down, Hiruzen and Hiyashi remained tense. And why should we trust her? The Kyuubi is her. The village was attacked by her. Kura said, "Not of my own will. I would never dream of intentionally harming the village that my containers battled so valiantly to defend. I would never consider destroying the village in order to betray the memories of Mito, Chan and Kushina. Chan, who both loved it until the end of their lives. You're claiming that you were under control? Is it possible?" inquired Hiyashi. Of course such a thing is possible, Kura said, nodding. Or did you forget that during his battle with Hashirama, Uchiha Madara had me under control? I could be controlled, and that's what happened again 13 years ago on October 10th. So keep quiet and pay attention as I explain what actually transpired. Hashirama's victory over Uchiha Madara and my release from his rule marks the true start of the story. He gave me a deal when he did. I was to be sealed into his wife in an attempt to prevent me from ever being manipulated against my will again. In this manner, I would never again be subject to that dreaded Sharingan's control. I accepted his offer because I was in a state of great distress following the experience of having to fight against my will. I was cozy sealed inside Mito, Chan a few days later. We would simply converse while she kept me company and occasionally visited me in her thoughts. After a while, I showed her how to manage some of my chakra and we led a happy life together. Unfortunately, everything good has to end, and as Mito, Chan grew older, we both realized that I would need to be sealed into someone else before she passed away from old age. In order to keep me safe from control at all times, Mito, Chan came up with the brilliant idea of a tradition of passing me on as a gift to the heir, or in this case, heiress, of the Uzumaki clan. After Mito, Chan led the current heiress down into her mindscape to meet me. We discussed it with her and she agreed. We quickly became friends. This heiress was Uzumaki Kushina, the mother of Naruto. The Uzumaki clan's incredible sealing skills allowed me to be safely moved to Kushina, where I started a new life inside of her. As Kushina, Chan grew up and fell in love with a wonderful man I watched from inside of her. Namikaze Minato, Naruto-kun's father, was that man. They married in secret over time, and one day Kushina learned she was going to have a child. We were all ecstatic to hear the news. After entering Kushina's mindscape, we all started discussing the future. When my future finally arrived, we made the decision to carry on the custom of transferring me to the newest member of the Uzumaki clan. Since no one was left who could safely seal me into a grown child after Uzushiogakure was erased from the map, Kushina, Chan made the decision to forego some of her years of living with me in order to transfer me straight into Naruto at the moment of his birth. It is much simpler for me to be sealed inside something that still has undeveloped chakra coils because a Jinchuriki's seal weakens during childbirth. The months went by, and finally Kushina, Chan's due date arrived. We were relocated to a remote area as an additional precaution because Minato took all the required care to guarantee that nothing went wrong during the sealing process. Everything went wrong when Kushina, Chan gave birth to a gorgeous baby boy and Minato was ready to move me into little Naruto. After killing the elite bodyguards, a masked man entered the room and threatened to kill Naruto. Minato managed to save him, but he took Kushina and me to another place during the altercation. The man somehow looked into Kushina, Chan's mindscape and activated a Sharingan. He ripped me out of Kushina, Chan, and made it so that I couldn't act of my own will. Thanks to Kushina, Chan being an Uzumaki, however, she was able to survive the violent extraction. The masked man ordered me to kill her, but Minato saved her just in time. He left with Kushina and took her to safety. Next, the man in the mask vanished, and I found myself in Konoha, destroying it against my will. A short time later, I saw Minato emerge from the monument. He was able to send it out of the village, but I had to use my strongest attack on him. Then I saw the man in the mask come up behind him and try to drag him into a vortex of some kind. But Minato managed to get away. I was compelled to keep destroying the village until all of a sudden I felt like I had control over my own behavior once more. Minato teleported me away after suddenly appearing on top of me. When we got to a clearing, Kushina was close by and Minato had baby Naruto on a special crib. Clearly, he intended to continue locking me into Naruto-kun. Kura, he told me, I will seal you into my son at the expense of Kushina's and my lives. The only seal I am aware of that can securely seal you at this time is this one. Naruto's chakra coils have started to grow, so we were unable to use the seal that we had planned to use. Even though I might have to give up my life to prevent that man from controlling you again, I cannot risk it. The fact that you tore Kushina away from her is already killing her. By doing this, we can guarantee Konoha's safety and provide our son with a gift that will give him strength and companionship. At this point, Hokage Sama, you must have remembered Minato's final words, don't you? Sandame Sama, I want you to tell everyone that Naruto is to be treated as a hero who is protecting the village from harm simply by living with the Kyuubi sealed inside of him, he said. However, I ask that you hold off on telling him about his parents until he is ready. Don't allow Danzo or the civilian council to take him. The council will either treat him like the Kyuubi itself or treat him like a spoiled brat if they manage to get him. And if Danzo were to get him, you know what would happen. Keep my son safe. He then jumped on top of me after picking up Kushina and placing her next to Naruto-kun. He whispered to me, unfortunately, you won't be able to speak with Naruto for a while due to the strength of this seal. But when you are able to, I want you to tell him everything. He has a right to know. Also, you have my permission to date him sometime in the future if you start to develop feelings for him. It's been nice knowing you, Kura, ya-na. With that said, he and Kushina-chan sealed me into Naruto-kun. True to what Minato said, I was unable to contact Naruto-kun. I was forced to watch helplessly as he was treated horribly, only able to use a small amount of my yokai to stimulate his healing factor so that he wouldn't die, and keep poisons from killing him. However, no matter what he went through, he kept strong. As I watched his life unfold, I began to fall in love with him. He was always on the losing side, but no matter what happened, he never gave up. Finally, on his 13th birthday this year, I was able to pull him into his mindscape after he had dragged himself home from a particularly nasty beating. We came to an agreement after I told him about his parents like Minato requested of me, and he modified our seal. Now I have the ability to manifest outside in the world. The modification also had several other effects. Naruto-kun will be able to access my yokai easier, as well as the fact that his senses received a boost. His Uzumaki regeneration abilities also became supercharged, and he is in general stronger and faster. But the biggest change was the creation of a new bloodline that awakened 3 days ago. We still do not know exactly all of what this new bloodline entails, but it was awakened when Naruto-kun looked into Hinata-chan's eyes. Somehow, that act also awakened the bloodline in Hinata-chan as well. It also knocked both of them unconscious and into Naruto-kun's mindscape. I met Hinata-chan formally for the first time there, and after a series of interesting events, we both agreed to share Naruto-kun as our boyfriend. After that, we both confessed our love to Naruto-kun, and he accepted both of us. In that process, I also awakened the bloodline that Naruto-kun had awakened. After that, I told them what exactly was happening with their bodies and what was changing, and I taught them the Kage Bunshin. After that, they both woke up, and Naruto-kun and Hinata-chan began kissing but were rudely interrupted by Hiyashi-sama. The rest is history. Hiruzen said, well, that certainly is a most intriguing tale. But why should we believe that you are speaking the truth? After there had been dead silence for at least a minute. At this point, Hiyashi responded, it would seem that she is telling the truth, Hokage-sama. I watched her the whole time with my Byakugan activated, and I couldn't even detect even the slightest sign that she was lying. So unless she has a way of bypassing my lie detection skills, then every word she said is true. Hiruzen let out a sigh and replied, very well. If you are indeed telling the truth, why don't you enlighten us about this mysterious new bloodline that you have received? Kura nodded and went on to tell the three of them what the bloodline had done. When Hiruzen and Hiyashi finished the explanation, their eyes widened. Between the three of them, the passive benefits were simply enormous. Even the Byakugan was now in their possession. As Hiruzen put it, that is certainly an interesting bloodline. It also explains why we were physically unable to separate you two without both of you breaking out in high fevers, and why the closer together you two were, the more stable you were. Hiyashi, we have a slight problem on our hands. We cannot let anybody hear about this bloodline, for the sake of the kids. The council would want to turn Hinata into a breeding machine, and they might see Naruto as even more of a threat than before. Also, I know that your clan's elders would not like another bloodline corrupting their precious Byakugan. I am declaring all the information that we have learned here to be a triple S class secret. Not a word of any of it is to be spoken to anybody other than those who are in here. Is that clear? Everyone said, "Hi, Hokage Sama." In response, Kura followed by stating, "Hokage Sama, I wish to be enrolled within the academy as a student. That way I can be on their team of genin when they graduate. All three of us are linked in a way that our teamwork would be absolutely impeccable. Having anybody else on the same team as Naruto and Hinata would ruin the teamwork that they have. I also wish to tell the instructor Yumino Iruka the entire truth. That way, he can come up with a cover story for me. Also, he is one of the few people who actually respect Naruto-kun. Very well, I will have Iruka stop by later and explain everything to him. Just show up in your human form tomorrow at the academy, and we will have everything prepared for you. Just hide the tails and ears. I look forwards to when the three of you graduate. Something tells me that your team will be legendary. I will also work on getting you three the perfect Jonin sensei. With the potential that you three have, I need somebody special to take the job. Also, I am hereby giving Naruto some of his inheritance. It is a house that belonged to his parents. It's located on top of the Hokage monument. I will also increase your monthly stipend. That way you can actually buy some nice things for yourself, and maybe you girls can take him shopping. The council has been preventing me from doing so, but now I am going to go over their heads. It's time for me to pick myself up again and show who really is in charge of the village. Hiruzen then turned to Hiyashi and said as he took out a blank mission scroll and began filling it out, I also wish for Hinata to begin living with Naruto, active immediately. I need them to work together and figure out what else the Kyoshingan can do. Naruto's new house has an underground training ground that is perfect for that, as they won't be disturbed. Officially, this will be a B-rank bodyguard mission to cover the true purpose from your clan's council and the civilian council. Very well, Hokage Sama, but before I leave my daughter in Naruto's care, I will have a few private words with him. Hiyashi replied. Naruto felt a great sense of dread upon hearing this. After giving Hiyashi the mission scroll and having him sign it, Hiruzen tucked it away in his robe. Hiruzen then looked at Kura and replied, I am giving you a chance. But if I get even the slightest whiff of malicious intent, you will wish that you never were given the ability to manifest out of the seal. Is that clear? Crystal, Hokage Sama, I have no intention of harming anybody unless they harm Naruto-kun or Hinata-chan. But if they do, then they will know my fury, replied Kura. Very well, you are all dismissed. Hiyashi, take them to their new home. It's sealed with a blood seal so Naruto will be able to open it. You may stop back at your compound to gather Hinata's things after you show them their new home. They all left the room as Kura transformed back into a fox. An Anbu then materialized in front of Hiruzen after he pressed a button on his desk. Hiruzen replied, Cat, please fetch Yumino Iruka and bring him to my office. I wish to speak with him. Hiruzen was once again left alone when Cat said, Hi, Hokage Sama, and shunshined away. He was thinking, the Kyoshingan, That bloodline has unlocked an incredible amount of potential in those three. They very well may become the strongest ninja that Konoha has ever produced in time. I need to think about who to give them for a Jonin sensei. Kakashi is out, since the council is going to force him to train the last Uchiha. Kurenai wouldn't be that good either, as none of them are genjutsu types. My son is a wind type like those three, but he mainly focuses on using it through his weapons. Those three would be the most effective using large-scale ninjutsu, combined with up-close Juken, since they all have the Byakugan, so awesome is out. I need to think outside the box for this one. Hiyashi guided the three of them up the mountain and through the village. When they reached the summit, he guided them to the Yondaimi's head. A modest house stood in the center of a vast grassy field directly behind the head. There was a big lake behind the house. After guiding them to the front door of the house, Hiyashi turned to face Naruto. He stated, Naruto, I need you to cut your finger and smear some blood on the door. That will allow us to go inside without getting killed. Naruto bit his thumb and nodded. When he applied the blood to the door, a sizable sealing matrix materialized and began to glow. It ceased to glow, and the sounds of locks opening were audible. Hiyashi led them inside after opening the door. He let out a sigh and said, "Coming in here brings back memories. I am going to go back and collect Hinata's items, so feel free to explore the house. Everything should be safe, but you should still be careful, just in case. But before I go, Naruto, may I have a word with you for a moment?" Hiyashi led Naruto into the kitchen, which made him feel extremely dreadful. Once there, he shut the kitchen door and said to Naruto in an icy cold voice, "I am leaving my daughter under your protection. I trust that you will be able to keep her safe, but if you ever hurt my daughter, then I promise you, I will hunt you down, and you will wish that you were never born. I approve of your relationship with her, and while I normally would never let my daughter be in a polygamous relationship, the circumstances are outside my hands, so I approve of you being with Kura at the same time as Hinata. I can tell that Hinata loves both you and Kura with all of her heart, so I am willing to let her have both a girlfriend and a boyfriend. All I want is for my daughter to be happy and strong, and both of you make her very happy, and have caused her to show greater strength than almost all of the Hyuga clan. Very few people have ever stood up to me before, and you caused her to do so 3 times. I am leaving you with one final warning, Naruto. Hurt my daughter, and you will personally experience what hell feels like. Am I clear?" "Yes, sir." Naruto stammered. Hiyashi said, "Good." Kura, who had returned to her human form, and Hinata were waiting in the main room when they both walked back. He started to walk away, but a thought came to him and he turned around again. He stated, "Kura, may I speak with you for a moment? There is something that I would like to request of you." Kura followed Hiyashi into the kitchen after giving a nod. "Now the request that I have for you is a little odd, but I want you to do it, as I think that you are the best person for the job," he said, turning to face her as he closed the door. Kura said, "Okay, what do you want?" "I want you to teach my daughter and Naruto about the birds and the bees." Hiyashi replied. Kura's eyes widened as she said, "That certainly is an unusual request. Why do you think that I am the best for the job? And shouldn't Hinata know about it by now? I think that you are the best for the job because you will probably end up doing what you will be talking about with Naruto sometime in the future." Hiyashi replied. This caused Kura to blush and Hiyashi to continue. "Hinata does not know about it yet since Hyuga tradition has the clan elders teach the heir or heiress when they deem that he or she is ready to know. The elders will never deem Hinata ready until the moment that they marry her off for political reasons. So I want you to teach her, so that she knows about how to start a family. I know that it is her dream to be a mother, specifically the mother of Naruto's kids, and I do want her to be able to achieve that dream, even if it is difficult for me to admit that my daughter is growing up, and even more difficult for me to think about being a grandfather. Please teach them, but preferably do not encourage them to actually do it until they are older. I don't want to be a grandfather just yet, and Hinata is not ready to be a mother yet either. In a few years maybe, but not now. Will you teach them?" "Sure, I guess. I was going to teach Naruto-kun about it soon since he wasn't allowed in the academy class that teaches about sex. Adding Hinata into the teaching session is no big deal," replied Kura. After Hiyashi gave a nod, the two of them moved from the kitchen into the main room. After saying goodbye, Hiyashi went to retrieve Hinata's belongings. Kura said, "Finally, I know that those clothes were only an illusion, but I still don't like wearing them." "Okay, you too, Hiyashi. Sama asked me to talk about a little something called the birds and the bees. So listen up, because I probably won't repeat myself." Kura's clothes literally disappeared from her body as soon as Hiyashi left the door. After a lengthy and extremely awkward conversation, Naruto and Hinata were both red in the face by the time Kura was done. Kura insisted on going into great detail to explain everything. When describing the female anatomy, she even used her own body as a model, and when describing the male anatomy, she made Naruto serve as an unwilling model. Kura said, "Okay, that about sums it up. Any questions?" Hinata and Naruto both shook their heads. Kura used so much detail that she had left no space for questions. Kura moaned when she heard a knock on the door. She responded as her clothing appeared on her body once more. Hiyashi entered with 2 scrolls. He separated them from one another on the table and said as he pointed to the left scroll, "This scroll contains all of the items that Hinata needs to live here. If I forgot anything, you may use the Hyuga account to buy replacements." He then turned to the right scroll and said, "And this scroll is a betrothal contract for Naruto and Hinata. If you both sign this, you will be wed when you both turn 16. Also, If you sign this, Hinata will be immune from ever receiving the caged bird seal. If you sign this Hinata, you will also have the option of passing your status as heiress to Hanabi, so that you may start a new clan with Naruto. I went over the elders' heads to make this, and they will certainly be displeased when they hear that I did this, but it is within my right as clan head and father to betroth my daughter to whomever I deem to be acceptable. I now ask you both, will you sign this? Well, Hinata. Chan, what do you think? Would you like to be married to me when we turn 16? Naruto asked, turning to Hinata, who was astounded that Hiashi had done this for them. After kissing Naruto passionately, Hinata remarked, I would love to marry you, Naruto.kun. I will be honored to be your fiancé. Well, I'm certainly not going to say no, so let's sign it. Replied Naruto. After Naruto and Hinata signed in the appropriate places and Hiashi unrolled the scroll, he rolled it up once more and tucked it into his robe. He continued, very well. I will bring this by the Hokage immediately. I am pleased that you have decided to sign it. It will make things far less complicated for you too. Now the elders cannot marry Hinata away, or put the seal on her. I will give you both time to think about passing on your status of heiress, as that is not something that we need to decide immediately. Have a good evening, daughter, son.in.law, Kura. Hiashi said that and walked out the door. We are going to be married. I'm so happy, Hinata exclaimed as she gave Naruto another kiss as he departed. All of a sudden, Naruto and Hinata experienced a great deal of sadness. They knew where it originated, somehow. I'm not leaving you, Kura-chan. If you want, I can marry you too. I love you and Hinata-chan equally, and if one marries me, then so will the other, Naruto said, turning to face Kura and giving her a passionate kiss. Kura began to sob, but it just won't work. I'm a demon, and I'm going to outlive both of you. What will I do when both of you are gone? We'll work something out, but for now, let's not think about things like that and live our lives happily, Naruto reassured Kura while giving her a reassuring squeeze. Hinata embraced him and said, Kura-chan, we will never abandon you. We will come up with some solution to the issue, be it something as extreme as us becoming immortal or you becoming mortal. But we will solve the problem, and we will not leave you alone. Thank you so much, you two. I don't know what I would if you two ever left my life, Kura said, sniffling. Then Naruto said, it's going to be interesting to see what people think of you, Kura-chan. We've all had a crazy day, and I'm tired. Let's turn in early. After the academy tomorrow, we can explore the house. Yawning, Hinata said, all right, Naruto.kun. It seems like a smart idea. Let's go to bed. Luckily, the bed was king-sized, so the three of them went upstairs to the master bedroom, where Naruto, stripped to his boxers and setting the alarm a bit earlier than usual so he could take a shower in the morning, plopped down on the bed and fell asleep. Kura, who noticed that Hinata appeared a little unsure, said, just strip, girl, and lay down next to him on his right side, naked, while both girls giggled at how quickly he fell asleep. What's the big deal? He's already seen you nude. When Hinata realized that Kura's words made sense, she undressed completely, shut off the light in the room, and went to the bed, where she lay down on Naruto's left side. The sound of Naruto's breathing soon put both girls to sleep. Naruto's alarm woke the three of them, and Kura turned it off because it was on her side on the nightstand. She yawned and sat up, saying, I feel refreshed. This bed is incredibly cozy. I'm heading to the kitchen to see if I can use what's there to prepare something for us. I'm going to go take a shower, Naruto said to Hinata after she got up and left the room. Let's meet in the kitchen. He stood up, too, and walked out of the room. After deciding to take a look at the contents of the storage scroll that Hiashi had brought them, Hinata got up and unrolled it, unsealing each item one at a time. When she was done, the room was filled with her personal belongings, including her stuffed fox that her father had packed for her. She decided to sort through everything later, so she grabbed a new set of clothes and went upstairs to the bathroom, where Naruto had finished his shower. She finished and went to the kitchen, where she saw Kura and Naruto eating. She squealed with joy when she saw the cinnamon buns on the table, and she hurried over to begin eating them. These are incredible, but where did you get the ingredients to make these? Hinata cried. The nice thing about this place is that all of its food is stored in special seals so that the food never goes bad, Kura remarked with a laugh. It was always Minato's responsibility to keep the seals supplied as well. Unsealing the right ingredients and creating them from scratch was therefore all that was required. Living in the homes of two Hokage's wives has made me a reasonably competent cook. After finishing their meal and engaging in sporadic conversation, the three of them washed the dishes and completed preparing for the academy. Though Naruto and Hinata had to persuade Kura to pretend to be dressed. Why can't we just be naked? It's so much more comfortable. When they were ready, the three of them left the door, and the seals automatically locked it behind them. They then went down the mountain path and into the village, where they were met with many glares. At least Naruto was, as they passed through the streets, and the civilians were unsure of how to react to the two girls who were walking next to him, each holding Naruto's hand on the side they were walking on. The civilians felt as though they were being crushed under the weight of the sun, and anyone within 20 feet of Kura was rendered immobile until the 20-foot bubble passed by them. Kura realized the glares and started to release a small amount of killing intent, small for her. Kura stopped leaking intent to kill when the three of them finally arrived at the academy, and they walked to their room, but not before they broke off their handshake. Everyone else was in the room when they walked in because they had arrived at the academy a bit later than they had intended. With Hinata to his left, Kura to his right, and Naruto in the center, the three of them moved silently to the very back right row and took their seats. Then Kiba strolled over and greeted Hinata, saying, "Hey Hinata-chan. Do you want to join me later today for a date?" "I'm sorry, Kiba, but I'm afraid that I already have a boyfriend now," Hinata said courteously as she turned to face Kiba. "Therefore, I must graciously decline your offer." Kiba, who never stays still for long, turned to face Kura and remarked, "How is your new girl doing? Is the best guy in the academy someone you would like to date? So you are so desperate for a date that you are willing to ask someone you don't know anything about?" Kura asked with a laugh. "It's kind of pitiful, dog breath. In addition, I can't accept your offer because I have a boyfriend." Kiba became enraged by this and screamed, "Since when do all the attractive girls have boyfriends? In any case, who are your boyfriends? I'll prove to you that I'm superior to them both." Kura remarked, "My boyfriend is Naruto-kun," as Hinata and Kura both burst out laughing. "You ought to have figured that out if you had applied your intelligence for once." "My boyfriend is also Naruto-kun," Hinata continued. "He's so gentlemanly about sharing him, though. Dog breath, please shoo off." Half of the class was staring at the three, and Kiba just stood there, stunned by this realization. "Why in hell would anyone go out with that baka?" screamed Sakura. "He is completely unlike Sasuke-kun and is a complete moron." Then she yelled, "And what are you doing here?" while pointing at Kura. "You're someone I've never seen. Furthermore, why is that purple kimono so ugly?" Together, Naruto, Hinata, and Kura recoiled as the Banshee's loud voice overpowered their delicate hearing. "I'm here because I've been enrolled in the academy to become a ninja," Kura said, turning to face the Banshee. "Regarding my attire, trust me, I would much rather be completely nude, but regrettably, most people would disapprove of me going around in my undies. I might as well wear what I like, though, since I have to wear something. You lack sense of style if you find this kimono unattractive." While all of the female students believed Kura had no shame, the majority of the male students in the class began to get nosebleeds at the idea of Kura going around nude. Iruka yelled, "All right, everyone sit down and shut up." As she and Mizuki entered, everyone hurried to their seats, including Kiba, who was startled out of his reverie and made his way to his seat. Then Sakura yelled, "Who is that girl, Iruka-sensei?" as she poked her finger toward Kura. "I see that you have noticed our new student, Kura," Iruka said with a laugh. "From now on, she will be training with us to become a ninja." When Shikamaru lifted his head from his desk, some people exclaimed, "It's alive." And he said, "Kura, like the fox Naruto brought in as a pet a few days ago before he and Hinata were inexplicably rendered unconscious." "That's right," Iruka said with a laugh. "This girl is the same person as that fox." Kura possesses and practices a very uncommon and challenging form of hidden jutsu. "Kura, would you mind showing the class?" Kura nodded, then said, "Gladly." She leapt onto the desk, transformed into a fox, and sat on Hinata's lap, where she was rubbed. "As you can see, this jutsu allows the user to physically transform into a fox," Iruka went on. "But this is no illusion like the henge. In reality, she is a fox." To see if this method worked as a spy tool, Kura came in a few days ago and pretended to be Naruto's pet. Since none of you suspected she was human, the test was a huge success. But Shino had different ideas. Kura is a girl who is definitely not human. Her chakra is not at all like a typical chakra, according to my insects. Although her chakra and Naruto's are similar, she has a completely different chakra. Interestingly enough, Hinata's chakra also seems to have changed. These days, it is nearly identical to Naruto's. This is fascinating. I'll watch them, but I won't share this with anybody else. Then Sasuke said, that technique seems weak and useless. Why would you transform into something weaker and smaller in order to limit your fighting abilities? After I get my Sharingan, it won't even be worth copying. Iruka scowled at what Sasuke said and retorted, the technique is not meant for battles, Sasuke, as several of the fangirls swooned as he spoke in multiple sentences. Its purpose is espionage. It's not all about using strong, destructive jutsus to be a ninja. Apparently, Sasuke believed that being a ninja was all about being able to use powerful and destructive jutsus, specifically ones that would destroy his brother. He scoffed but said nothing else. How come she knows a unique jutsu? Screamed the pink-haired banshee. Sasuke-kun is the one who should be knowledgeable about special jutsu. Kura, now back in human form, said, I know a unique jutsu because it was the only heirloom of my family that I have left, as the three people in the back flinched again. I am an orphan, with the exception of this one jutsu that was taught to me when I was old enough. I had no parents, no friends, and nothing else as I grew up. I am only known as Kura because I have no idea what my family's name was. My family doesn't have a name. However, when we are prepared for that step, I plan to acquire Naruto-kun's name, Uzumaki. The fact that Naruto-kun is also an orphan is one of the many reasons I find him so appealing. To establish a reputation for ourselves, orphans must remain united. No-name pieces of trash like you two will never make a name for yourselves, sneered Sasuke. If you ever want to be someone special, you must be born into a great clan like mine was. Kura shot back, disregarding the giddy fangirls. Oh, so only those born with a name can be special. Did you know, however, that Yondaime Hokage, our very own beloved, was an orphan? I mean, he really made a name for himself. That is a lie, Sasuke scoffed. He was a member of the powerful Namikaze clan. You need to get all the facts before you make bold claims, Kura said, shaking her head. How many members did the Namikaze clan have? Only Minato. Sama himself was there. By his actions, he made his clan famous and demonstrated that anyone can be exceptional. He was extremely powerful, which is why his clan was so strong. Kura rolled her eyes and muttered, oh, real mature, while Sasuke snorted and pretended not to hear her. Iruka regained control at this point and declared, all right, enough small talk. We will continue our study of the Hokages in order today. After passing through the Nadaime, Sandaime, and Shodaime in the previous 3 days, we are currently on the Yondaime. Could someone please tell me his name and the nickname he earned while fighting? Without even waiting to be called upon, Sakura's hand shot up and she responded, the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato was known far and wide as Konoha's yellow flash. Iruka said, very good, Sakura, but next time please wait until I call on you before you answer. Now, how did he get that nickname? Iruka asked. Unexpectedly, Sakura's hand did not leap up as everyone gazed at her expectantly. As no one aware, Iruka inquired, Minato. Sama used the Hiraishin, the Flying Thunder God technique, Kura said, raising her hand as Iruka called on her. He can instantly transport himself to a marked seal using this space-time ninjutsu. His unique 3-pronged kunai were marked with the seal, and many of them were thrown behind enemy lines by allies. After that, Minato Sama would teleport between them and quickly eliminate significant amounts of the enemy. One of the reasons we currently have a tense relationship with Iwa is because Minato Sama used this technique to wipe out an entire Iwa army. His nickname comes from the technique's ability to emit a bright yellow flash whenever it is used. Kura, great explanation. On every point, you are entirely right. Iruka was commended for explaining the technique when I just asked for its name. As Iruka went on to teach the class about Minato, he observed that Kura would wait a little before raising her hand and providing an entirely accurate response, frequently along with additional pertinent details, whenever he asked a question that no one else knew. Sakura yelled at Kura, stop showing us up. After some of the students eventually began to notice this pattern. Furthermore, where did you find out about the Yondaime? I'm not going to show you up, Kura said, laughing. Like you, if I had wanted to, I would have responded to all of Iruka-sensei's questions without allowing anyone else to respond. Rather, I'm being fair and letting others respond to the questions they are familiar with, and I will respond when no one else is. Since Minato Sama is one of my idols, that explains why I know so much about him. Despite being an orphan, he established himself, and I aspire to do the same to demonstrate that even those without names can succeed. In an attempt to understand how he was able to accomplish what he did, I have thus learned everything I possibly could about him. I've come to the conclusion that he used the strength of teamwork to get to where he did. Whenever he failed on his own, he would try again with help from others until he was successful. Kura is right, Iruka said with a nod of approval. She isn't a show-off, but she could be. She helps everyone else by giving them the opportunity to try, and she helps everyone by sharing her knowledge when they fail. He looked at the time and said, "All right, it's time for your lunch break." She is doing a great job of adhering to the Yondaime's belief in the power of teamwork. In an hour, join us for taijutsu lessons in the courtyard. You're fired. With the exception of Naruto, Hinata, Kura, and, somewhat surprisingly, Kiba, everyone started running outside. Kiba approached the three and sneered, "How come you were able to get the two hottest girls in the class at the same time? They ought to belong to me. Naruto, I'll show you all that I'm a far better man than you." Hinata, Chan and Kura. Chan will rush to me as soon as they realize how weak you truly are. Iruka. Sensei, I need to put a mud in his place, Naruto said as the three of them stood up and approached Iruka after he stomped out of the classroom. Would you be able to set up the taijutsu matchup for today so I can battle the mutt? Normally, I would say that I couldn't, but I agree that Kiba is going too far with his alpha male mindset, Iruka sighed. I'll arrange that for you. Do either of you girls want to fight someone in particular? I might as well change a couple more matches if I'm changing one. Kura, who spoke first, said, I would like to fight the Uchiha brat, and Hinata both flashed menacing smiles that made Iruka shudder. Additionally, he needs to be knocked down a few pegs, and I know exactly how to do it. Very well, Iruka said with a nod. Hinata, how about you? I want to battle the banshee with the pink hair. I need to make her see the light, because she probably still believes that I'm weak. Sakura has some of the weakest physical attributes. The fight won't be lengthy or attractive, but I promise it will be funny, Hinata said, grinning savagely. Very well, you three, Iruka said, shuddering once more. Proceed to enjoy your lunch now. After giving a nod, the three departed the classroom. The hour went by fast as they chatted and ate lunch together on the academy's roof, enjoying the bento Kura had prepared for them before they left. Iruka declared, today we will be doing more one-on-one spars, after they had all cleaned up their mess and gone down to the courtyard. No complaints, I've already paired everyone up. Choji vs. Shikamaru is the first match. Iruka started the fight after the two entered the ring, but Shikamaru instantly turned around and left the ring of his own free will. With a sigh, Iruka called off the second game. Unconcerned with the outcome of the fights, Naruto, Hinata, and Kura watched until Iruka yelled, the fourth match is Hinata vs Sakura. When Hinata was called out, she got a frightful smile and went into the circle. Iruka started the match, and Sakura instantly used her most powerful tool, her loud voice, to yell, you are so weak, Hinata. And you have terrible taste in men and clothes. You are actually going out with Naruto. He must be the most pitiful and weakest man I have ever encountered. He is completely unlike Sasuke-kun, who is flawless. And why is that heavy jacket there? Are you trying to conceal the fact that you have nothing there? Your voice is way too loud, Hinata said in a menacing tone after letting out a sigh and launching a little murderous intent at Sakura, causing her to freeze. Perhaps I ought to permanently deny you access to it. You know I can do that. You can stop people from ever having to hear your screams by simply tapping your windpipe. If you believe the emo over there is ideal, then my taste in men is obviously much superior to yours. Not even my Naruto-kun is flawless. We are human because of those imperfections. Sasuke is not divine, he's not flawless. In fact, he is the exact opposite. He is a hungry, emo bastard who would not hesitate to stab his teammates in the back in order to increase his own authority. I wear this jacket because it's a memento of my Ka-san, and that's why. I don't wear it to conceal what you say I lack, but rather to honor her memory. But allow me to remove it for a moment to disprove your claim. The eyes of almost every male in the class widened at the realization that Hinata was the most developed kunoichi in the academy, with the possible exception of Kura, with whom she was actually completely tied. Hinata unzipped her heavy jacket and took it off, revealing a low-cut lavender tank top that hugged her body nicely and flaunted her C-cup-sized breasts. As you can see, I have much more than you probably ever will, and they are still growing, Hinata said, putting her jacket back on but leaving it unzipped. Sakura was still motionless due to her murderous intent. Since I only want Naruto-kun to appreciate my figure, I don't flaunt it. However, I am happy to flaunt everything I own when we are alone. I won't say anything more, though, because that is private between Kura. Chan, Naruto.kun, and me. It's time for you to sleep now, Sakura. As a result, Sakura lost her lunch and eventually passed out as Hinata gradually increased the intensity of her murderous intent. Unexpectedly, a janitor arrived and started clearing the mess, including Sakura, while Iruka declared, the winner is Hinata. Then Ino yelled, what on earth did Hinata do? Sakura wasn't even touched by her. Well, I guess this is a good gateway into learning about killing intent, Iruka sighed. Sakura froze in terror as Hinata used her intent to kill. A target can experience psychological trauma if you force your desire to kill them, and as Hinata demonstrated, if you force enough desire, you can also cause physical reactions. It's normal to throw up, but unconsciousness is the worst. At the highest level, you can send out a refined burst of your killing intent and stop someone's heart completely. Because the brain makes the body shut down completely, including the heart, to avoid the overwhelming sensation, your opponent literally dies from fear. Few people can truly accomplish this, though, and the more powerful you are, the more you will be able to withstand the consequences of killing intent. Since so few academy students have ever been able to use their own killing intent, this is not something that is typically taught there. This lesson is typically given to you when you are placed on genin teams, but since Hinata showed such mastery over hers, I'm telling you now. Nice job, Hinata. Chan, but since when were you able to use killing intent? He whispered as Hinata approached Naruto, smiled, and planted a kiss on his lips. I've always had a knack for using it, Hinata chuckled and whispered back. I used to be so shy that I would almost never use it because I thought people would think I was some kind of freak for it. However, as long as you and Chan approve of me, I don't care what other people think of me anymore. With another kiss, Naruto whispered back to Hinata, you know that we always will. Iruka then declared, Kiba vs Naruto is the 5th match. Iruka started the fight after the two fighters entered the ring, and Kiba put Akamaru down right away, saying, just sit back and watch, Akamaru. Hinata. Chan and Chan will come running to me after I quickly clean up this loser. Kiba rushed toward Naruto and swung a careless claw swipe, but Naruto dodged it and gave Kiba a vicious uppercut to the jaw. Kiba wiped some blood from his mouth and remarked, hey, lucky shot, after he flew backwards without being knocked out. Let's see how you respond to this, Suga. Later, Kiba started to slow down, and when he did, Naruto delivered a powerful blow to his jaw, knocking him unconscious. You should not use such a chakra draining technique unless you really have to, Naruto said, standing in a ready position and grabbing the approaching vortex, despite the fact that he could feel himself being torn apart as he held Kiba in place. You didn't have nearly enough chakra left to protect yourself from the full force of my punch after I stopped you. Keep in mind that one takes more damage the less chakra they have left. Kiba's unconscious body was wheeled to the infirmary by the janitor as Naruto left the field. In the blink of an eye, every single cut that Kiba had inflicted closed up as it healed, causing all of the academy students to gasp and point at Naruto. Ignoring the looks, Naruto returned to Kura and Hinata. Then Ino yelled, what happened to Naruto, Iruka? Sensei. He had cuts all over him one moment, and now they are all completely healed? What's happening? Fortunately, Naruto responded, while I was out the past few days, I got a chance to learn a little about my mother's side of my family. Iruka was not sure how to respond to that question. It was well known that the Uzumakis lived incredibly long lives and that they were naturally able to heal minor wounds. It seems that my regeneration is among the most potent cases anyone has ever witnessed. I won't divulge any additional information. With a sigh of relief that Naruto had managed to defuse a potentially delicate situation, Iruka exclaimed, Sasuke vs Kura will be the 6th match. When the fighters entered the circle and Iruka started the fight, Sasuke said right away, a nameless orphan like you should just bow down before me. I'm a Uchiha. I am a member of the elite. I might even grant you the privilege of assisting me in re-establishing my clan by bearing my children if you demonstrate your worth. You know, I've heard all about you Uchiha as well, Kura said, choking back a little. They were generally a thieving, power-hungry, and self-centered clan. In addition, Uchiha were 2 of the 3 largest traitors to Konoha, Itachi and Madara. However, I believe Itachi was correct to propose eradicating the Uchiha from the planet. I won't put my life in danger to assist you in re-establishing your clan. It's amazing you have fangirls at all, given the way you treat people. You mentioned that my fox transformation was weak, if I recall correctly. Let me use my fox form to defeat you and show you how wrong you are. You think that you can beat me like that? Sneered Sasuke as Kura changed into a fox. That is pitiful. Let me demonstrate my true strength for you. Sasuke sprang at Kura, but she was too small to resist his haphazard blows, and she easily dodged them. Sasuke became furious very fast and shouted, "You can dodge, but that won't win you." Kura gave Sasuke an intriguing fox-like smirk before leaping away and launching herself at him in a full body tackle. With a loud crash, everyone's jaws fell to the ground as she struck Sasuke's stomach, sending him flying out of the ring and deep into the academy wall. "I don't recall ever saying that turning into a fox limits my strength," Kura said, transforming back into her human form. "In fact, it makes it larger relative to my body. Additionally, I have great control over my strength, despite the fact that I'm much stronger than I appear." With that tackle, I had the option of sending Sasuke into the next building, but I decided to keep my options limited. Even though I would likely be doing the world a favor, I don't want to accidentally kill him. After saying that, Kura returned to Naruto and Hinata and joined them in sitting on the ground. In order to avoid raising too much suspicion, the trio decided not to demonstrate their full abilities in target practice and ninjutsu lessons, and the remainder of the day went by rather uneventfully. At last, the day's last lecture period ended, and everyone was kicked out of the academy. "The Hokage is asking you three for a meeting," a random Anbu said as the three of them started to move through the streets. "You must come to his office right away." The Anbu shunshined away as the three nodded, then turned and started toward the Hokage tower.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.